What's going on, everybody? It's your big homie, the Armchair Operator, and welcome to another video. Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you enjoyed today's content, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Become a part of the family. We would love to have you. And if you're coming back to my channel, thank you so much for coming back. I really do appreciate it. And I hope that you also enjoyed today's content. All right, so today I got a budget dot in store for y'all. Today we're going to look at the CV Life Wild Hawk series multi-reticle solar red dot. So just a little quick backstory. I was looking to get my hands on some more budget-friendly red dots for competition, not for competition, just to get my hands on to see what other options that they have out there on the market. Now, when I'm talking budget-friendly, me personally, I'm talking about something that's like maybe $200 or less. Now, I know for a lot of people, $200 is a lot of money, and I would agree. $200 is a lot of money. However, when you're talking about the spectrum of red dots, you have red dots that could go all the way up to damn near $1,000. So compared to them, a red dot that's sub $200 is a budget option. Now, the thing of it is, though, we don't want just a budget dot. We want quality budget dots. That's the whole thing. Like, we're not trying to go out here and spend a bag on every single thing that we get. We're trying to save a little bit of money and hopefully find something of quality. So I was perusing around on Amazon the other day and I saw this dot because it reminded me of the 507 comp by Holosun. So I said, let me just pick this up and let me just see what it's hitting for. All right. So I'm going to talk about my experiences with this particular dot here. But real quick, full disclosure, this channel is not to promote the sale of any firearms. All of my videos are strictly for educational purposes only. I'm going to say it again, YouTube. These videos are for educational purposes only. That's it. Okay, I'm just sharing a little bit of knowledge about certain things that I have or that I've come across with the public. Okay, I have to put that out there because YouTube has been getting very funny lately. They deleted one of my videos, y'all. They deleted one of my videos. I don't know what's up with that. You know, I must be doing something right if they over here delete my videos. But anyway, enough about that. We here to talk about this dot. So I've actually been testing out this red dot probably for close to a month now. I've had several hundred rounds through this, through the firearm that I have the dot mounted to. And so far, it's been pretty interesting. But speaking of the firearm, let me bring the firearm here. So this is my Glock 17L Gen 5, and this is the CV Life Wild Hawk mounted on the top. First thing we need to do, we need to verify clear. Firearm is clear. There is no magazine on the gun, and boom, safe direction. And we are filming in a safe and controlled environment. There is no ammunition anywhere in my review space. So now on to the dot. So as you can see, this is a pretty large dot. It has a large objective window, pretty tall deck height, relatively speaking. And it looks an awful lot like the Holosun 507 comp. Now, when I first picked this dot up, one of the first things I've noticed is that it was very lightweight. And I'm gonna get to the specs in a minute, but it was very lightweight. And to be honest, I was a little bit concerned about that, only because when I was holding the dot in hand, it just didn't feel as robust as the 507 comp. And I have a 507 comp, which I'll pull out in a sec, so that way I could just give you all the visual of the side by side. But it felt kind of light. And I was a little hesitant at first, and I was just looking like, I don't know about this, man. I don't know if this dot is going to survive what I put it through. Now, I didn't beat it up or put it through any torture chest. What I did do, I did just basically run the dot how any other normal person would run the dot. As a matter of fact, I recently shot a USPSA match with this dot. So there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of good things going on here, and I'm gonna talk about it for a sec. But before we get into all that, let's just go over the general specs of the dot itself. So here's the box. Boom, right there go the spec sheet. I'm gonna put it right there. Y'all can pause if you just want to read it, get it out the glare. We're gonna pause it. But anywho, starting from the top. So the window size is about 0.78 by 1.02 inches. Now the window size is very similar to the 507 copper, and I'm going to show you. It's not exactly the same, but it's similar. So moving on from there, the weight is only 1.84 ounces. Now there is an advantage of having a lighter dot mounted to your gun. Okay, there's going to be, remember, when you mount anything to the slide of your firearm, you're going to increase the amount of mass that's reciprocating back and forth. Now with red dots, in most cases, is not really all that noticeable, but at the same time, putting a heavy dot on the slide might be noticeable depending on the type of firearm that you're using. This particular dot is relatively light, so that is a plus in a sense. But like I said, I still had concerns about that. Anyway, moving on from there, we had the eye relief is unlimited, which is pretty much self-explanatory. It is a red dot. Now, just for those who don't know, when they're talking about eye relief with certain optics, especially prism optics, like your LPVOs, your HPVOs, your fixed power optics, and so on and so forth, they're talking about eye relief. Like if you were to put your eye close to the, well, a certain distance, your eye has to be a certain distance from the optic itself in order to see what you're looking at. So if you tilt your head this way a little bit or that way a little bit, up or down, you get that little scope shadow. That's kind of what they're talking about, eye relief. So long and the short of it is, you could have your dot as far away, pretty far away from your face, and still see your reticle. I know I didn't really communicate that very eloquently, but hopefully you got the idea what I'm talking about. Moving on from there, all right, now the size is basically 2.07 inches by 1.27 by 1.34. All right, the battery type is solar. Now here's the thing that I kind of struck me as a little interesting. Most of your Holosuns, like your 507s and so on, have a solar strip on the top, and they take a battery. This particular dot is 100% solar, 100%. Now, being 100% honest, at first, my first thought was it's a neat idea, but at the same time, I'm a bit of a traditionalist because I like to have a battery. Now, it's a dope idea if you really think about it, because it gives you the ability to not have to worry about batteries. You can just keep it charged with solar power. However, for some, including me, to be perfectly honest, having that extra battery, like with a Holosun, it makes me feel a bit more comfortable about the dot. Now, I will say that, full disclosure, I haven't had any problems with the battery or the battery life of this particular dot as of yet. But again, I haven't had it in a long time. So only time will really tell how robust a 100% solar only optic will be, but so far so good. So I just wanted to say that. So it's 100% solar. Now, speaking of that, according to this, I'm trying to find it, like the battery life is like kind of insane. It might have been in the book. Matter of fact, let's just open it up. Let's open up the box here. All right, here's the book, but I just want to see if I can find where the battery life is on this thing. It says it's shock proof up to 2,000, I'm guessing we would say grams, maybe. Battery life, adjustment range plus or minus 45 MOA. Okay, click value 1 MOA, pretty standard. It has, okay, the brightness, so it has 8 daytime settings and it has 2 night vision settings, and also has shake awake technology, which I think is really dope. Shake awake is important, especially when you have a 100% solar dot, and you could turn the shake awake on and off just like with any other red dot. All in all, to get the best amount of battery life for your optic, you just put it on minimum setting or leave the shake awake on. All right, so anyway, let's talk about what else comes with the dot itself. So you got your little tool here, basically to adjust your elevation and windage, and of course you got your screws. Now this also comes with a Picatinny adapter Oh, by the way, if I didn't mention this already, this particular dot has the Holosun RMR footprint, full size footprint, just to let you know. But anyway, it comes with a Picatinny adapter, so if you don't want to mount it on your handgun, you can mount it on your long gun of choice. Shotgun, I think this would be really good for a shotgun, honestly. But anyway, moving on from there, we also have a riser. So you can just mount this on a riser, and then you can let it sit up a little bit, get it off of the center line of the firearm. So that's dope. What else you got here? It also comes with a Glock MOS adapter plate for the Trijicon. Now here's one thing about this. This plate, I don't know if you noticed. I'll take it out the bag so that way you can get a better look at it. Now my Glock people would know. Now this plate is noticeably shorter than that of the MOS plate for the Glock. Now while it will fit on the Glock, the fact that it had all this extra room in the back didn't really sit well with me. So I just went with the standard MOS plate, which you can see it right here. So now if you just look, you see, now this is the standard MOS plate that came with the 17-0. You see how far back it goes? It goes all the way back to the rear sight. Now, by comparison, I don't know if you can see this, but this stops a little short. It's enough to cover the bottom of the optic, but you see there's just a little tiny gap between the optic and the rear sight. So I just decided to go with the OEM in this case. And who knows, maybe down the road I might switch that out for an actual proper Trijicon adapter plate for the Glock MOS system. So who knows, we shall see. But anyway, that's pretty much it as far as what it comes with out of the box. But I want to show you the reticle. So hold on for a second. Let me show you that reticle real quick. And then I'm going to pull the 507 comp so that way you can see the two side by side. So here's the reticle for the Wild Hawk. So as you can see, you got a nice large objective window here. And the way I have it set up right now, I have it set up with the 2 MOA dot and the 40 MOA circle on the outside. However, much like the 507 comp, you can configure this dot to your liking. So just by pushing and holding the control button, the up button I believe, you can change this to just the 2 MOA dot. I know it's kind of hard to see on the camera. See if I can brighten it up a little bit. It might be on its highest setting, so I don't know if you can see that, but that's the 2 MOA dot. And if I push and hold it again, it'll change it to the 40 MOA ring. And then if I push and hold it again, it'll put it back to having both of them up there at the same time. So this is the one I prefer to run for the most part, much like the 507 comp, just because it's just more for my eye to really pick up when I'm presenting the gun and I'm aiming it on target. Now, speaking of the 507 comp, here is the Holosun 507 comp. We'll see if I can get them in both in the frame here. So, all right, now note the shape. It's a slightly different shape between the 507 comp and the Wild Hawk over here. And the Holosun is slightly wider, and I don't know, it might be a little taller, but it is slightly wider and slightly bigger than that of the CB Life. But it's very similar in a lot of respects. The Holosun is definitely heavier, and I would say the housing itself is a bit more robust. And I don't know if you can see that, but that's the reticle option of the 507 comp. Now the 507 comp has more reticle options than the Wild Hawk, but it also costs substantially more. This dot is just over, it's like a little over $300 in most places. I've seen it for a little bit more, I've seen it for a little bit less. But I mean, honestly, the Holosun is almost twice the price of that of the Wild Hawk. Actually, it might be a little bit more than twice the price. But All in all, you're getting a lot of the same functionality with the Wildhawk that you do with the Holosun. But if I were to guess, because the Holosun's a bit more robust, I would say that the 507 comp will probably survive impacts and drops and so on and so forth a little bit better than that of the Wildhawk. But I'm just going to put these two up here just so that you can see the different shapes between the two. So they're very similar in that regard. And here is the glass. I don't know if you can see that, if I can get that in the camera there. So that's what they look like from the front. So all in all, pretty comparable. So as I stated earlier, I've been running the Wildhawk on my Glock 17L for probably a few weeks now. And so far, my experience have been largely positive. I mean, I got the dot zeroed in. It didn't take it didn't take too much effort to get it dialed in. I zeroed it when I was at home with the bore sighter, probably out to maybe about 15 to 20-ish yards, just to kind of make sure everything was lined up. But it didn't take too many adjustments to do. Got it out to the range for the first time, confirmed my zero, made sure everything was good, and then it was pretty much off to the races. So just running some drills on the range, just, you know, stuff that I came up with, a couple build drills here and there. Didn't have any problems, didn't lose any zeros, didn't have any flickering or anything like that. So I figured that I actually did a bit of a drop test, dropped it from like maybe about waist height on, basically in my home on carpet, and it was fine. You know, I didn't do anything crazy like drop it on concrete or anything like that, but it held up. Did a couple of these, running it off the table, and well, it's still on. So not sure if you can see that. I'm not going to try to muzzle myself, but I don't know if you can see that, but it's still on, right? And the mounting surface, it's rock solid. Like I had it set, screws didn't come loose or anything like that. So I said to myself, well, you know what, let me just run this thing for real. So I ran it in a competition recently. Unfortunately, I don't really have a lot of footage. I didn't really feel like running around with a GoPro on my head, but maybe next time. I don't know if I'm gonna run this in a competition. Who knows? Maybe I will. My point is, ran through 5 stages down there, Lower Providence, Rod and Gun Club. Maybe it was this past Saturday. Great experience. It was my first USPSA match. I wasn't quite hot garbage, but I didn't get DQ'd, so hell, for me, that's a win. But I'm gonna work on my movement, so I'm gonna be stomping with the big dogs. Not too much longer, I promise you. I'm gonna get there. But anyway, didn't have any issues, and I even bought 2 other firearms as a backup in case for whatever reason this dot shit the bed. This dot performed beautifully. Out in the daylight, the daytime setting, it was nice and bright. I mean, all in all, I say all this to say, so far the CV Life Wildhawk, at least this particular Wildhawk, has been pretty good. So I think, at least in my case, it's been basically a win for me. Would I pick the 507 comp? Would I pick this over the 507 comp? If I will put it like this, all things being equal, I would still go with the Holosun 507 comp, mainly because, like I said, well, it feels a bit more robust to me, and 2, it's a little on the traditional side. It takes a battery. Being able to swap out a battery in case something goes wrong in a moment's notice, I feel a little bit more secure in that. Whereas with a 100% solar dot, if the internal battery or the solar portion of this were to crap the bed, that's it for the dot. Not saying that it will, but I'm just saying, at least with this, if the battery craps the bed, I could change the battery out. But all in all, would I recommend the CV Life Wildhawk? Personally, I would, because it gives you a lot of the same functionality as the Holosun 507 comp, but for a much cheaper price. I think that it will get you in the door. You can run a competition with this if you want. You can mount it on a long gun if you want. It has a large objective window. It's pretty good. I think that this would be a good starter dot, or maybe even just a budget option. If you just want a budget option to throw it on there, maybe you want to run a couple classes or do a competition like I did, I think you'll be okay. So all in all, this dot, at least so far, gets a pass from me. But anyway, I'm going to end it there. Do you all have any experience with the CV Life Wild Hawk or any CV Life dots in general? Let me know down in the comment section, y'all. Let's get this discussion popping. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. This is your big homie, Armchair Operator, and I'm signing out, man. Peace.